Okay, so this isn't a story about when I was little. This is a story about when Robbie was born. Of course, he was the oldest, so he was my first one, and I was only 20. And I had a saddle block. Well, let me tell you. Let me back up. That day, all day, I was home because I was off work to have the baby, and you were due pretty quick. So my girlfriend Terry called me and asked if she could borrow my dining room table and chairs for because she was having her boyfriend over for dinner. Now I've never heard of anybody since borrowing my dining room table, but I said sure, no problem, I'll bring it over. Here I am, 9.5 months pregnant, and so I put the dining room table in my car and the chairs and drove it over to her place. She lived in an upstairs apartment, of course. So we carried the table and the chairs upstairs to her apartment. And I noticed my back was hurting, so I went home, and before I knew it, I realized I was in labor, and that was about 6 o'clock at night. So I called your dad, and he came home from work, and we went to the hospital, and you weren't born. Robbie wasn't born until almost 8:30 in the morning, so your dad had worked all day, so he was tired. He kept wanting to go out to the waiting room and sleep. I kept telling the nurse, you go get him. If I have to be in here, he has to be in here. And they said, but he's so tired. I don't care. I said, I'm doing the hard part. So I made him keep getting up and staying with me all during the night. Um, then Robbie was born. I had what was called then a saddle block, where they put a needle in your spine and you're numb from the waist down. So they cautioned me, though, the only way they could do a saddle block is if you agree to lay flat for, I think it's 24 hours after you deliver, or maybe 36 hours, I don't know, several days. Otherwise, you'll get these terrible spinal headaches. I don't have my bottom teeth. Can you see? I don't think you can see it. So, okay. Um, so I went home from the hospital, and being one of the first grandchildren, um, Mother came to help take care of little Robbie, and she brought Tina with her, who would have been about 17, and she brought Grandma McNaughton. And then the two of them, Mother and Grandma McNaughton, proceeded to fight for the next week. While I was laying there trying to sleep, I wasn't allowed to get up and change a diaper or do nothing. I wasn't allowed to lift my head off the pillow. And those two are screaming banshees at each other. I have no idea what they were fighting about, but every day it was something new. And they didn't talk it out. They didn't argue. They screamed at each other until I finally asked them to please go home. They were driving me crazy. Oh my God. It's really sad because that's how the two of them usually got along. Mother and her mother never got along. She always told us Grandma was crazy. Um, and she always said her favorite line was, if I ever get like that, I hope somebody shoots me. Well, we've had the gun ready for a long time. Anyway, I don't think Grandma was crazy. I think she just had a really tough time raising someone like my mother. But anyway, it's funny now when I look back on it. It was not funny then. She just drove me crazy. And then a few years later, another incident that was funny was when she was married to Earl, my first stepfather. And the two of them would fight cats and dogs. I think they were half drunk. I know he was. Probably Mother was too. And she even threw a coffee table at him one time. So I'm married. I'm living on my own. And all of a sudden I get a knock at the door. And it's Earl. And he's got everything he owns in a brown Alpha Beta bag. We mustn't use luggage, you know. We might look too civilized. He had it in a brown paper sack. There he was crying, saying, your mother threw me out. Meanwhile, the phone would ring, and there would be my mother on the phone saying, that goddamn Earl, he did this and this. Oh, it was funny. And they did this half a dozen times. They were always fighting. I said, please, why do you come here? So anyway, those were just a couple of cute stories that I thought you might enjoy. Okay, love you guys. Bye-bye.